You have amazing role models like our handsome, dashing.
Y'all, Jason Lee didn't just criticize Nicki Minaj. He basically sounded the alarm on her entire career. Not shade, not petty gossip, not social media noise, and exposure. The kind that ends legacies. Because according to Jason, Nicki Minaj didn't just make a bad decision. She sold out her fans, sold out her culture, and went full MAGA in front of the whole world. And now, the same people she's trying to impress are laughing behind her back, using her, playing her, turning the former queen of rap into nothing more than political optics. A prop, a token, a headline. Jason says this isn't confusion. This isn't misunderstood tweets. This is calculated self-destruction. From attacking the LGBT community, to praising Trump like a supporter, to alienating the very fan base that built her career. One move after another, and every single one worse than the last. The internet is dragging her. Celebrities are distancing themselves. Even her own supporters are starting to ask, what happened to Nicki? But here's where it gets darker. Jason Lee claims the industry already sees it. Behind closed doors, they're not respecting her. They're mocking her, smiling in her face, while watching her fall apart in real time. And tonight, we're breaking down the interviews, the receipts, and the moments that might have just marked the point of no return. Because this doesn't look like a comeback story anymore. This looks like a collapse. So the real question is, did Nicki Minaj just destroy her own career? Or did Jason Lee just expose the truth nobody else had the courage to say?
Hello guys, I'm with my favorite president, the best president of all time.
He gets to hang out with young and have 50 different wives.
The second that Trump praise clip ended, everything changed. No music, no jokes, no edits to soften it. Just Nicki Minaj smiling, hyping up Donald Trump like she was standing next to a hero. And for a lot of people watching, that wasn't funny. That wasn't sarcasm. That felt uncomfortable. Because this is the same woman who once criticized him publicly. The same artist who built her fan base on culture, empowerment, and speaking against systems that targeted people like her. So when that clip hit the internet, it didn't feel like a random moment. It felt like betrayal. Within minutes, timelines exploded. Fans arguing. Clips going viral. Think pieces dropping. And suddenly the question wasn't, what did Nicki say? It became, what happened to Nicki? Because this doesn't look like growth. It doesn't look like evolution. It looks like a complete personality switch. And that's exactly where Jason Lee stepped in. Not to defend her. Not to soften the blow. But to say what most celebrities were too scared to say out loud. According to him, this isn't a misunderstanding. This isn't media twisting her words. This is a pattern. A dangerous one. Because right after the Grammys controversy, after the online fights, after the disrespect accusations, Nicki didn't slow down. She escalated. And Jason says the first real damage showed up with one specific group. The LGBT community. The same community that supported her for years. The same fans that streamed her music, defended her online, and showed up to every tour. That relationship started cracking. Fast. So let's roll the first moment Jason addressed it.
What is your take on Nicki Minaj, upsetting the LGBT community yesterday? I mean, is it pretty unforgivable? A lot of the things she said. I mean, she went for Trevor Noah. She went for, so many, Chrissy Teigen.
When that clip plays, you can hear it in the tone. Not confusion. Not curiosity. Frustration. The word unforgivable gets thrown into the conversation. And once that word enters the room, you're not talking about drama anymore. You're talking about consequences. Because unforgivable means people aren't waiting for an apology. They're already checking out. And Jason didn't stop there. He went even harder. He basically said what a lot of fans were already whispering online. That Nicki wasn't just being messy. She was being careless. Careless with the very people who built her career. Careless with the culture that crowned her. Careless with the image she spent over a decade creating. So when the next part of the interview rolled, it hit heavier.
Well, here's the deal. I'm not thinking of Nicki Minaj today. I think that what she's doing, just the troping, the continuous disregard for the LGBT community, for her fans, for humanity, for everybody, it's an...
And this is where things turn dark. Because now the language changes. This isn't disappointing behavior. This isn't bad timing. Jason straight up frames it as cultural embarrassment. And that's brutal. Because embarrassment means people stop defending you. They stop fighting for you. They stop claiming you. Think about that. For years, Nicki was untouchable. Every controversy, the Barbs handled it. Every critic, they drowned them out. But now, even loyal fans look tired, confused, silent. And silence is dangerous. Because silence is what happens right before someone falls off. And according to Jason, the industry already sees it coming. Behind the scenes, people aren't impressed. They're not clapping. They're not welcoming her into political rooms. They're smiling to her face, while treating her like a prop, like optics, like a headline they can use and toss away. And history shows exactly how fast that happens. Hollywood doesn't protect you when you become inconvenient. It replaces you. And maybe that's why Jason's final warning in this section feels less like commentary, and more like a verdict. Because once you alienate the LGBT community, once you push away your core supporters, once people feel personally disrespected, there's no easy recovery, no quick apology tour, no rebrand. So let's roll the next moment.
He pretty much said about the whole everything. I mean, there's no way of coming back from this, right?
Short, direct, cold, and the message is simple. Some damage doesn't heal. Some bridges don't rebuild. And if he's right, then what we're watching right now isn't just controversy. It's the beginning of a collapse. Because when the crowd that made you famous stops riding for you, the spotlight gets real lonely. And for the first time in a long time, Nicki Minaj doesn't look untouchable anymore. She looks exposed. And this story? It's only getting worse from here. By this point, it wasn't just backlash anymore. It started feeling like isolation. Because once Jason called out the cultural damage, once the LGBT community controversy exploded, something else quietly started happening in the background. Nicki wasn't defending herself. She wasn't clarifying. She wasn't walking anything back. She was leaning in, harder, closer to Trump, closer to MAGA circles, closer to the same political crowd that historically never protected artists like her in the first place. And that's when people stopped saying this is messy and started saying something way worse. She's being used. Because think about it. When have Republicans ever championed Nicki Minaj? When have they ever protected hip-hop culture? When have they ever defended women like her? They didn't. They criticized her, mocked her, called her a bad influence. But suddenly, now she's useful. Now she's invited. Now she's welcomed. And Jason says that's not support. That's strategy. Because politics doesn't see celebrities as people. It sees them as tools, optics, props. And according to him, Nicki walked straight into that trap. So let's roll the next moment from Jason.
I think that Nicki is a great rapper, but I can't even think of one song that she has right now past the nonsense that we've been seeing that she's been putting on social media.
Listen to the energy there. It's not admiration. It's disappointment. He basically separates the artist from the behavior. Almost like he's saying, she used to be great, but look at what she's become. And that's the scary part. Because when critics start talking about you in past tense, your prime might already be over. Jason isn't attacking her talent. He's attacking the choices, the social media chaos, the political alignment, the constant noise. And he makes one thing clear. Every time Nicki opens her mouth lately, it's not music people remember. It's controversy. And controversy doesn't build legacies. It burns them. Slowly. Publicly. And the internet never forgets. Now here's where the manipulation angle gets darker. Because Jason hints that this isn't random behavior. He believes this is desperation. Calculated relevance. Like someone who knows the spotlight is fading and will grab anything to stay trending. Even if that anything costs them their core fan base. And history shows this pattern over and over. When artists feel their dominance slipping, they shock. They provoke. They align with whoever keeps cameras on them. Even if it means standing next to people who secretly don't respect them. Even if it means betraying the same communities that made them rich. And maybe that's why the next part of the interview hits even harder. Because this time, Jason stops being diplomatic. He goes straight for the character. So let's roll it.
When they say and show you who they are the first time, I've said for years that Nicki was lost, that she was a mess. I said that she rallies her fans to be terrorists. I labeled them a terrorist group years ago on the breakfast.
And you can feel it. That's not industry shade. That's personal frustration. Calling someone lost. Calling them a mess. Saying they weaponize their own fan base. Those aren't light accusations. Those are red flags. Because when someone inside the culture talks like that, it means they've watched the downfall up close. Not from headlines. From experience. And suddenly the image of Nicki changes. She's not the untouchable queen anymore. She looks chaotic. Unpredictable. Disconnected from reality. Like someone swinging at everyone while the room slowly empties out. But then something even more confusing happens. Right in the middle of all this political alignment. Nicki tries to sound inspirational. Empowering. Talking about beauty standards. Talking about confidence. Talking about women supporting women. And on paper, it sounds positive. But in context, it feels strange. Almost disconnected from everything else she's doing. So let's roll that moment too.
We were not being represented and not being admired for our beauty, if we felt like that as Black women, why would we want to do that to other women?
Amen.
Why would we now need to make other people downplay their beauty so that we can feel, no, that's not how it works. I don't need someone with blonde hair and blue eyes to downplay their beauty because I know my...
Now here's the contradiction. She's preaching unity, preaching self-love, preaching empowerment, but at the same time, aligning herself with political spaces that historically tear those same women down. That's the disconnect fans can't ignore. It doesn't match. It feels rehearsed. Like two different versions of Nicki fighting each other. One trying to be the old queen, the other chasing approval from rooms that were never built for her. And when your message stops matching your moves, people stop trusting you. And once trust breaks, celebrity status doesn't matter. Streams don't matter. Awards don't matter. Because fans don't just follow music. They follow authenticity. And right now, Jason's basically saying that authenticity is gone. Replaced with politics. Replaced with controversy. Replaced with survival mode. Which leads to one uncomfortable question. Is Nicki making choices? Or is she panicking? Because from the outside, this doesn't look strategic. It looks desperate. And desperation in Hollywood is blood in the water. Because the second people smell weakness, they circle. And what Jason hints at next might explain why the story gets even darker in part 3. Because the politics, the backlash, the embarrassment, that might not even be the worst part. There's something heavier coming. Something personal. Something that changes how people look at her entire situation. And once that piece drops, this stops being a career controversy. It becomes something way more tragic. By now, the damage wasn't subtle anymore. It wasn't whispers. It wasn't online hate. It wasn't just critics on Twitter. It felt bigger. Like something shifting in real time. Like the industry itself quietly stepping back. Because once you lose public trust, once your core fan base feels betrayed, once your name starts trending for all the wrong reasons, there's only one thing left. Humiliation. And humiliation is different. Backlash can fade. Drama can cool off. But humiliation? That sticks. And according to people who were actually in those rooms with Nicki, that's exactly what started happening behind the scenes. Because while she was smiling for cameras, while she was praising politicians, while she thought she was making power connections, others weren't impressed. They weren't inspired. They weren't welcoming her. They were laughing. Not with her. At her. Like she didn't belong there. Like she was the joke and didn't even know it. So let's roll that moment.
Is this entire situation going all the way over Nicki Minaj's brain and her spidey senses as the whole room just laughed at her and she thinks they're laughing with?
And the picture that clip paints? It's brutal. A room full of powerful people, chuckling, smirking, making subtle jabs, and Nicki laughing along, thinking she's part of the moment. That's not influence. That's not respect. That's someone being tolerated, used, displayed, like a trophy they can point to and say, look, even she's on our side. That's not power. That's optics. And once you become optics, you're disposable. Because the second you're not useful anymore, you're gone. No loyalty, no protection, no real allies. And that's the illusion Jason kept warning about. He wasn't saying Nicki was strong for aligning with them. He was saying she was vulnerable. Because those rooms don't protect celebrities. They protect themselves. And history proves it. The second a public figure becomes inconvenient, they erase them. Quietly. Coldly. And here's where the story takes a darker turn. Because up until now, everything we talked about was political, social, cultural, image-based. But what happens when the controversy isn't just about tweets or interviews anymore? What happens when it becomes personal? Because there's something else attached to Nicki's name. Something heavier. Something that's followed her for years. And every time her reputation takes a hit, this story resurfaces. Stronger. Hugier. More uncomfortable. Her family. Her inner circle. The people closest to her. Because critics aren't just questioning her politics anymore. They're questioning her judgment. Her choices. The people she protects. The people she stands by. And that's where things stop feeling like gossip. And start feeling tragic. Because when legal cases enter the picture, the tone changes. Suddenly it's not shade. It's headlines. Courtrooms. Verdicts. And this next clip? This is the one that makes the entire situation feel heavier than celebrity drama. So let's roll it.
As the verdict was read, he was found guilty, as you mentioned, of predatory sexual assault against a child. He's facing 25 years to life in prison. In the moments before the verdict, Jelani Miraj's attorney says Miraj felt confident that he would be acquitted of all charges. But minutes later, Miraj's mother, Carol, walked out of the courtroom alone with only their attorney. Prosecutors say Miraj in 2015 repeatedly had with his then 11-year-old stepdaughter. They say he threatened the girl if she did.
And when you hear that report, everything slows down. Because now we're not talking about politics. We're not talking about MAGA. We're not talking about online fights. We're talking about real-life crimes, real victims, real consequences, serious charges, serious sentences, the kind of headlines that don't disappear, the kind that permanently stain reputations. And whether it's fair or not, the public connects everything. They look at Nicki. They look at who she stands by. They look at who she defends. They look at who she chooses to protect. And they start asking uncomfortable questions. Because celebrity isn't just about talent. It's about image. And once that image cracks, every old story comes back. Every past controversy resurfaces. Every decision gets re-examined. And suddenly, people aren't seeing the queen of rap anymore. They're seeing chaos, politics, scandals, court cases, backlash, embarrassment, all stacked together. And it creates one narrative that's hard to shake. Downfall. Not overnight. Not dramatic. Slow. Public. Painful. Like watching someone lose control of their own legacy. And maybe that's what makes this story so sad. Because this didn't have to happen. Nicki didn't need politics. She didn't need MAGA rooms. She didn't need controversial alliances. Her music was enough. Her influence was enough. Her fan base was enough. But now, instead of talking about hits, people are talking about headlines. Instead of celebrating albums, they're debating her character. Instead of defending her, they're walking away. And that might be the scariest part. Because once fans emotionally disconnect, there's no PR strategy that fixes that. No tweet. No apology. No rebrand. Some bridges burn forever. So now the real question isn't, is Nicki trending? It's, is this the moment everything finally caught up to her? Did the politics, the backlash, the embarrassment, the scandals, all combine into one irreversible collapse? Or is there still a comeback hiding somewhere in this mess? Because if Jason Lee is right, we're not watching controversy anymore. We're watching the end of an era. So what do you think? Did Nicki Minaj destroy her own legacy? Or was this downfall inevitable from the start? Let me know below. Because this story, it's far from over. And here's the part nobody in the industry wants to say out loud. This doesn't feel like a comeback story anymore. It feels like a collapse caught on camera. Because when you step back and look at everything together, the Trump praise, the MAGA alignment, the LGBT backlash, the rooms laughing behind her back, the scandals tied to her inner circle, this isn't one bad headline. It's a pattern. A slow motion fall. The kind where every move makes things worse. The kind where the fans stop defending you. The kind where the silence gets louder than the applause. Jason Lee didn't just throw shade. He sounded the alarm. And whether people like him or not, one thing is clear, he said what everybody else was too scared to say. That Nicki Minaj isn't being protected anymore. She's being used. Used for politics. Used for optics. Used for controversy. And when the usefulness runs out, so does the support. That's how this game works. One day you're the queen. Next day you're the example. The cautionary tale. The what went wrong documentary. And the most tragic part? Nobody forced this. These were choices. Public. Loud. Permanent. Now the same fan base that once rode for her is stepping back, watching, questioning everything they believed. Trust is cracking. Loyalty is fading. And once that bond breaks, no hit song can glue it back together. So what do you think this really is? A misunderstood star or a self-inflicted downfall? Is Nicki fighting the system or did she sell out her own legacy? And after everything Jason exposed tonight, be honest, is there any coming back from this? Or did we just witness the end of Nicki Minaj as we knew her? Sound off below.